Hello, everybody. We are live and using some different software today. So do let me know that you are able to see me, able to hear me, and everything is working okay. We should be live on YouTube and on Twitter today. And I should hopefully be able to do a couple of little clever things while we are going. Hit that thumbs up button. Don't know where I see that on the new software, but always helpful for bringing new people along to the stream. And also, I must plug from today, if you do want to see these streams ad-free, then you can do so over on Patreon. If I press that button as well, you get a little ticker on the bottom. I'm learning as I go here. So yeah, ad-free over on Patreon, which I'm going to have to give a bit of a push because, as I said, I may well be out of work in September. So support over there. So look, 3 days to kick off now. I know we are all very, very excited about all of this now. So Wednesday night, we have Villa and Sheffield United, which I will be covering. Then Arsenal and Man City after that. Mike from Johannesburg. Wow, amazing stuff. Thursday, we've got the League Two playoffs straight away. Then that's Colchester, Exeter, and Northampton, Charlton. Then on Friday, we've got Norwich and Southampton, Spurs, and Manchester United. And then Saturday, we are off to the races, wall-to-wall football for about 8 weeks. Fingers crossed that nothing happens in wider society for that to be stopped. And the two kings of our generation were back and have played. Cristiano Ronaldo played for Juventus on Friday night, I believe, and Lionel Messi. Did he get 2 goals and an assist, or a goal and 2 assists? Something crazy like that on Saturday night. So if they are back, then surely the rest of us can get back. But first story, one player who will not be getting back will be an unnamed Norwich City player, because they have had a player go down with an infection for COVID. I think it was 2 positive tests in 1200 in the latest round of Premier League tests. We do not know where the other test was, but we know that in the tests on Thursday and Friday, a Norwich player who is remaining unnamed was involved. Doesn't say started, as Norwich beat Spurs in a friendly at the Tottenham Stadium. I thought they could only play friendlies up to 2 hours away. I bet it takes them more than 2 hours to get down to Spurs, but they maybe not now in the current London traffic. Spurs confirmed no positive tests and said the Canaries player had no close contacts with their team. I'm sure this is going to leak at some point who it is. He will self-isolate for 7 days. So this Norwich player now is the first one, or, the example of the first one who's going to miss a game because he's going to now isolate for 7 days, and they play on Friday. So I'm sure Norwich fans will all be hoping it's not Pukki, Buendia, or Aarons, or they don't have any more vital players than that, particularly Pukki as well. Norwich are 6 points from Premier League safety. They've got Saints on Friday night in their first fixture of the restarted campaign. Daryl says either a sub or a squad member. Just getting to grips with this technology. I hope it's all working okay and everyone can see me. Seems to be, so I will soldier on. Let's talk about Black Lives Matters being put on the Premier League shirt. So this is going badges on the shirts, I believe, and Premier League players' names will be replaced on the back of their shirts with Black Lives Matter for the first 12 games of the restarted season. So I would have thought that is the 2 games on Wednesday and then a full round of 10 games. So everyone is going to be wearing Black Lives Matters on their shirts. get your thoughts in on this. I know it'll split people. Not that anybody's particularly split. That Black Lives Matter, they obviously do. And just for clarity, that does not mean that all lives do not matter. But yes, Black lives do matter. The contention some people have is that whether clubs or players should make political statements, social statements, all very, very bit of a hot potato to talk about. So the Premier League will also support any player that chooses to take a knee before or during matches. This I do find a bit strange because the whole taking a knee in the NFL was all stand for the national anthem, was about not standing for the national anthem. I'm kind of like, what are you? Why are you kneeling when you're not standing for something? Do you know what I mean? It's very, very, very kind of tricky one. I would hope the Premier League also would support any player that chooses not to take a knee, because we can all be behind a cause against racism, but we can all show it in different ways. And sadly, through social media very recently, it seems to be that sometimes people are very, very intolerant of those that don't share the cause in exactly the same way they do. So we will see. Right, let's see if this works and I can put a comment up. Yes, it has. The Dan Bob. Black Lives Matter as a standalone principle is a given. However, the organisation is disgusting and the Premier League should distance themselves from it. Tricky one, isn't it? We don't quite know in terms of the rioting whether that was particularly Black Lives Matter's people, but certainly it didn't go over well what happened in some of those scenes. But again, as the Dan Bob says, it's a given that we all agree behind the principle. We, the players, stand together with the singular objective of eradicating racial prejudice. Well, so do we, all the fans. In a joint message from all 20 clubs players, they were committed to a global society of inclusion, respect and equal opportunities for all, regardless of colour or creed. I would like to think that us football fans are and have always been behind our black role models, and I'm sure we all have very, very good black players at our clubs who we all respect and love greatly. So Black Lives Matter's badge will feature on all playing shirts for the rest of the season, alongside a badge thanking NHS staff for all of their work. So get your thoughts in. I'm going to read these comments. They don't necessarily. Box says, Ben, will you take the knee? It would depend in what situation I was asked to do it. Needless to say, I would like to think that I support the fight against racism and I do positive things, whether I do or do not take a knee at any point. Let's put up Tom's comment. Tom says, football should not get into politics and protests. It's wrong. At the very most, they should wear a black armband with Black Lives Matters on it, but has no place on the actual shirt. So pretty mixed views there. Again, hot potato and very difficult for us people on YouTube to get clipped out of context and these other things. Let's read Liam's comment there. I think it would be better to promote kick it out on the shirts rather than Black Lives Matters for relevance and to promote the internal fight against racism in football. That's well put by Liam. The Kick It Out campaign has been going for a long, long while. We've often seen shirts and things of that nature promoting that. And he's right, that is then the internal football thing doing about it. But this has gone a bit bigger than just football in recent times. Sorry to keep going on this subject, but the Sunday supplement this morning talked about the Rooney Rule, which I'm sure people will have views on as well. So this Rooney Rule means that clubs must interview a BAME, so black and minority ethnic candidate for a vacant role. There are loopholes, however, with that guideline only applying when there is a short list of interviewees. Instead, clubs in the EFL and Premier League must now go further in how they provide opportunities. There are just 6 BAME managers working across the 91 league clubs in England. This is difficult, isn't it? Because I think everyone agrees in equality of opportunity, that everybody should get a chance, depending on what their creed or colour or gender or ethnicity is. Equality of outcome is a very, very different thing. I'll say, without being too controversial, that I'm a little bit uncomfortable with quotas. I know the only other way around it is just to give it time and hope that things improve. And maybe that's not fair on the people who feel that they're being prejudiced. But in some ways, I don't necessarily agree. I don't know what the end point of forced diversity is, whether it is forced diversity or just a little prod. It's very, very difficult, isn't it? Just to kind of have a look at it. If I were to bring up the Premier League table, let's look at the Premier League managers. So we're going to look for diversity here in the Premier League managers. So Liverpool, white German. Man City, white Spaniard. Leicester, white Northern Irish. Chelsea, white English. Man United, white Norwegian. Wolves, Nuno's mixed race, yes. Mixed race Portuguese. Sheffield United, white English. Tottenham, white Portuguese. Arsenal, white Spanish. Burnley and Palace, white English. Everton, white Italian. Newcastle, white English. Southampton, white German. Brighton, white English. West Ham, white Scottish. Watford, white English. Bournemouth, white English. Aston Villa, white English. And Norwich, white German. So, yes, there's a lot of diversity in where people come from. Not a lot of diversity in skin pigmentation, and not many black or mixed race managers at all. So it's very, very difficult. Remember, there's only one manager at every club. It's the most difficult position to get into. But if you're talking about, say, black managers or being under proportion, you would say that white German managers in a 20-league English team with Klopp and Farke and Hasenhüttl overrepresented, wouldn't you? So it's a very, very tricky one to figure out. Let's ping Andy's comment up here. All very well saying black candidates may not be the best candidate, but was Lampard, Gerrard, no management CV and got jobs. And I know Andy, and he's a Derby fan. So, he is obviously very familiar with Lampard's work. Box says there are about 5 million black footballers and 0 Indian in the Premier League. Yeah, it's tricky with diversity, isn't it? Because as soon as you find one underrepresented category, then, yeah, again, talk about, I live close to Luton, and there's a vast Indian population in Luton, and, just no Indian footballers anywhere to be seen. So very, very tricky. Let's put Heretic's comment up there. It's about a background in education and the ability to pass FA and UEFA coaching tests, and then the personality to influence and manage need to improve young players' education in academies. Very, very tricky. I don't think anyone's saying that the BAME people aren't getting the job because of racism. I don't think you could ever prove that, but there must be some kind of reason. I think it's a third of the footballers are black, and obviously very few of the managers. Very, very, very difficult, isn't it? Let's just bring up Bailey's comment there. I think representation should connect to the percentage of the population. Yeah, that was what I was just mentioning as well. Tricky. As you can see, it's pretty much a hot potato that I'm not great at talking about, but I'm trying to be balanced. What we don't want here on the channel is some of the stuff that we've seen of people being very, very intolerant of other people's opinions. If they don't agree, then all sorts of name callings. We've seen some pretty disgraceful scenes related to this. And the whole stupid thing is we're talking about racism, aren't we? It's like, who doesn't agree on racism? But then we've got all of this rioting stuff. Anyway, let's move on from that. What does Liam say there? Sorry, Tom. Neil Taylor and Hamza Chowdhury are the only British Asian Premier League players. Interesting. Very, very underrepresented. Right, let's move on. Get your comments if you're watching on delay. do comment. If you are here in real time, please get involved in the chat, and also give us a thumbs up. Helps more people get into the stream, and it helps the channel to grow. Let's talk a bit about Charlton, because we are also talking about our championship stuff here. We mentioned briefly Charlton, change of ownership, silly fallout between Matt Story and the other chap whose name I cannot remember. Someone will tell me in the chat. Well, Matt Southall is claiming a 7-figure fee for services during his time at Charlton. It's a High Court insolvency action he's brought against him. The club will vigorously defend it. Southall joined in January, but was removed from the board in March. Charlton lawyer Chris Farnell says the claim is misplaced. But Southall's representative, Paul Daniels, you'd have to be a magician to get this one going. I think he's been treated blatantly unlawfully and wrongfully dismissed in a breach of contract. So Matt Southall not going quietly here. The Charlton ownership stuff rumbles on and on and on. Hopefully it will all get sorted out nice and quickly. Let's talk about the championship. Couple of deals and whatnot have happened that we can talk about. Here's an interesting one. I remember this happening at Ipswich to a player called Thomas Gardso, who had a trigger in his contract that meant if he played one more game, this was when the club were in administration, that it would blow the contract up to a higher wage and all this type of stuff. Oh, let's just quickly throw up James's comment. These are James's words, not mine. Matt Southall is a con man. I have absolutely no idea how he's getting away with it. James is a Charlton fan in there. Yeah, so QPR have got Mark Pugh. He's a decent player, plays in the number 10 position. Obviously, QPR are very well stocked with Samuel and Chair and Eze off the front there. But Pugh's still decent at championship level. 33-year-old needed to play one more game to trigger an automatic 12-month extension. The club say, Sir Les of Ferdinand says the changing economic situation has a huge impact and tough decisions such as this are required. So you're now having a situation where QPR are essentially getting rid of a player. I guess his contract will go on June the 30th because they can't afford to commit any money going forward. Let's just quickly go to Lee's question there. Lee says, what do you think of the situation at Sheffield Wednesday? 7 players out of contract and none have signed new deals yet. That sounds pretty worrying, Lee, doesn't it? We know Sheffield Wednesday have been on a bit of a tightrope, really ever since that playoff final defeat to Hull in 15-16, wasn't it? And chasing their tail there. I think Ridley has summed it up pretty well here. If I click his comment, Wednesday need a bit of a clear out. Quickly, one more, which our Millwall friends will be pleased about. Millwall defender Jake Cooper, who, alongside Jed Wallace, is their highest sort of saleable asset. In fact, Alex has just chimed in at the right time with that one. They signed a long-term deal. In fact, let's just read Alex's comment. Jake Cooper signed a deal, played every minute of 113 games. Great bit of business by the club, as I'm sure there would be interest in him. Yes, indeed, Jake Cooper, really, really good, solid championship player. Be interested to see if he could go any higher, but certainly can earn a nice bit of money in the championship for the rest of his career. Never misses a game. Brilliant in the air. Very good attacking player as well. The only thing is, I don't know if Alex, you can tell me this. Why do Millwall never tell us what their contract lengths are? The most clandestine club in the world. Let's just strict heretics coming. Nice to see you using Streamlabs. You'll be playing videos next. I am trying to up the content here. As I have said before we go to Q&A here, job situation not good for September now, so really pushing the Patreon now. If I click this button here, I think it should tell you to subscribe to my Patreon. Ad-free streams over there. I'm just you can just download and watch at your leisure over there. But we're going to try and build up the Patreon and hopefully make this less of a hobby and more of a pursuit, because I don't look like I'm going to have a job in September. So we will see. Alex says here, heavily linked with Rangers a while back. 3 or 4 million that was. They've done well to hold on. That value is going up and up. Let's see what Little Crow says. Cooper's game has come along a bit since Rowett joined. Interesting start. Some marauding runs from the heart of the defence. He's never been super comfortable on the ball, but I do take Little Crow's point. It's very different playing under Rowett instead of Harris, where it was pretty direct, wasn't it? On that contract, Alex says, not sure, we never disclose transfer fees either. Very, very interesting. Right, let's do questions now. Hit the thumbs up if you are in the chat. If you're interested in supporting, you can hit that dollar button and send a super chat. Or the best thing you can do now going forward, because I will be doing Patreon only content and you can watch things ad free, is go over and support on Patreon. Do me a solid. That would really, really help me out. Derby interested in Morgan Fox. Yeah, decent championship level, but how many left backs do you want? Low for Forsyth, Malone. I'd put low on the horse. I think he's the youngest one, Andy. The chosen one says it's strange how all bottom clubs keep having players test positive. His words, not mine. Dan says, what happened to the job? Under the current regulations, I've been redeployed, and my job actually doesn't exist in September. If the regulations change, that might be different. But by God, wouldn't it be great if I could make this even part of my income? And God, maybe all of it one day. So I'm really going to give the Patreon a push indeed. Kian says, is the championship still returning? Fingers crossed. Yes, championship next Saturday returning. Tom says, Klitsch insisting he would return to prove a point and 77 consecutive leagues. Klitsch just had a birthday, Tom, didn't he, as well? Happy birthday to Matt Klitsch. Glenn says, can't find the bloody dollar button. I think it's in the YouTube chat. Somebody help him out there. Or you can go and donate on Patreon. Did I see stories floating about Lyle Taylor making a U-turn? Oh, my God. Apparently he wants to play now and talks with Bowyer. I have mixed feelings. God, James, just get him to play till the end of the season, then sort it out in the summer. That's all any Charlton fan surely asking, isn't it? But that would be the hell of a U-turn, wouldn't it? Philip says, would you rather see next season Ipswich v Colchester or Ipswich v Northampton? I'm going to be really selfish, Philip. I live in Bedfordshire, so Ipswich v Northampton is closer. What does Bailey say? Do you think it's fair for players to sit out or legit concerns? QPR top centre-back Grant Hall probably won't play as he had a newborn child. Should he be paid, though? I'm not sure he should be paid. I think you give people the choice, but in many jobs, people are being given the choice, but told if they don't show up for work, their job's not under threat, but they will not be paid. Very, very difficult one, isn't it? The counter argument is going to be that football clubs can afford it, but can a football club like QPR afford it necessarily? Dan says, fingers crossed, sort it out for you. Thanks, Dan. I'm sure we'll be okay. I think being the minority fans, I'm desperate for Bamford to stay at Leeds. His all-round game is absolutely awesome. I think the conceived wisdom is growing that Leeds are probably better with Bamford than they are without, and it's just his finishing that lets him down. Kian says, Chris Houghton to be new Birmingham manager. I'm sure we'll get some news on that very, very soon. Ridley says, what do I think will happen to Chris Martin if he doesn't sign a new Derby contract? I think he'll definitely get a championship gig. What is he, 31, 32? Seems to have been around forever. Can do a job in the championship. He's never had any pace, as he always plays with his back to goal, but very good playing around the corner. I think he'll get a new deal, won't he? Dan says on Grant Hall, paternity rights mean he should get paid something. I doubt he'll get a footballer's wage, though. Would he? Jack, who do I think are the most likely to challenge the top two? Fulham are closest but have tough fixtures. If you're right, Jack, then it would be Brentford. Remember, if Brentford can take 4 points off Fulham and West Brom over those first two games, then we will see how that one pans out. I get in trouble with saying that too much. We will see and how it pans out. Glenn says, good luck on the job front. Remember, all things happen for a reason. I'm trying to see that. I don't want to sound like David Brent, though, when he goes in and says, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. But we've got a couple of months to hopefully sort something out. And if you guys can help and we do get more Patreon subscribers, then perhaps I can say 1 day a week, 2 days a week, and start to do this full time. Martin says Nathan Jones to keep Luton up. God, give him a knighthood if he does that. That would be quite the return, wouldn't it? I was going to click on Leeds one. Sorry, chosen one. Can you see any Ipswich players leaving due to the financial impact on the club? Yes, Joe was very good at this on the Blue Monday podcast. It's going to be Flynn Downs, isn't it? And maybe Wolfenden will stay a little bit longer. Ollie says Brentford to come third, Millwall to sneak sixth. Yeah, Millwall have played all of the top 9, is it, already? Lots of indecision on this. Chosen one says Brentford too far back. Fulham's fix is too tough. I think the question, chosen one, was if anyone is going to challenge them, they are all a long way back. Ridley says Luton to stay up, Hull to go down. Bailey asks, outside pick on challenging for the playoffs in the Championship. I think Jeffrey told me off when I said Bristol City were outsiders. Anyone, in my opinion, who's outside is an outside pick, obviously by definition, but it's so tight. Maybe Blackburn and maybe Millwall for that reason. Andy says still 10, 11 teams in with a chance. That's a Championship for you. Ridley says if Derby beat Millwall, they will push for that 6. But how far back at Derby? Someone tell me. Do you know what I should probably do? Shall I just bring the damn table up on my mobile phone whilst we are talking, if I can find the right app to do so? Here's a fun one. Nick says, rumour, Ed Sheeran could buy Ipswich. Yeah, that one sounds a bit far-fetched, Nick, but there you go. Let's just bring up this Championship table on the outskirts. Bristol City 1 point off. So inconsistent under Johnson, aren't they? Millwall with the easier games, 2 points off. Cardiff, they got some Premier League players, haven't they? Blackburn, Swansea as well. I think Derby are only 5 points off, aren't they? Can I tell you all in about 3 games' time? Let's flash up Norwich City Central's comment because I went on his show the other day. I don't know whether it's going to go up anytime soon, but go and subscribe to Lewis over there. Do you think the intensity of the Championship games will be as high as pre-COVID? I think we can say in one word, no. I think it's going to be slow, and as we go through Saturday midweek, it's going to get even slower, isn't it? Philip says to Nick, I love your optimism. Ed Sheeran buying Ipswich is a quick way to go bankrupt. What do they say in the music business? The only way to make £1 million in the music business is to start with 2 million. There we go. Jalami says, hi, Ben, don't worry about income. I've heard the Foo Fighters are after a pianist. Oh, can someone put a good word? Do you know, I've met the Foo Fighters pianist, and he was, let's just say, in another place for most of the time. James, will I be doing a live stream for Charlton Millwall? Can't wait for this one. Yes. So the plan is, help me out with the name here. I'm either going to call it beginning, middle, end, starter, main course, dessert. We're going to do 15 minutes before, 15 minutes halftime, and a review after. Messi or Ronaldo, who's my pick? Love both of them. Been asked this one before. I love Ronaldo's work ethic and determination and physicality. I love Messi's natural talent. I love both of their careers. I love that one stayed at the one club, and I love that one has travelled and mastered it in different leagues. I love both of them. So absolutely amazing players. Glenn wants his CD. Glenn, I promise I will do it. Actually, Glenn, my missus bought a shed. It's still in the garage. When the shed's built, I'll go in there and find you a CD. Ridley quickly says, I agree it'll be difficult. It's in Derby's hands playing teams in and around the top 6. Got to win those games, but they do have Mr. Wayne Rooney playing rather well, don't they, Derby? Do I think multiple games a week in the Premier League will benefit Sheffield United, Norwich and Villa since they're used to it? Perhaps. Just remember, though, they're coming up against some very, very good quality teams. Remember, everybody, these dead rubbers in the middle of July are going to start kicking in. There's going to be some weird results. So, Ollie Davis says, Ed Sheeran fans should all go and check themselves for COVID. Apparently, no taste is a symptom. That's terrible, Ollie. We all us Ipswich fans are very, very proud of Ed and what he's done. I'll tell you my Ed Sheeran story one time. I played a gig with Ed Sheeran in Chelmsford in front of about 5 people in 2008, 9 or something. There we go. It is an easy one. Who's my all-time favourite Ipswich player? Marcus Stewart. Could Messi do it on a cold night in Stoke? Yes. The Itemize says, where's he gone? Millwall is a great run into the season. They'll make the playoffs for sure. Liam says, on the continent, the slower tempo players create more space in midfield for long-range shots. Who would benefit from that in the Championship? Anything to do with more space would kind of imply those passing teams. So you're looking at Leeds, Brentford and Fulham. Hey, if Liam's right, will that go against Forest, who like not having the ball and shutting teams out and then nabbing that goal? It's an interesting conundrum. Let's go to Joe's comment. Do I think Pablo Hernandez can do it in the Premier League? Yes, but over less minutes than he's doing at the moment. Superb player, Hernandez. I've loved watching him. Leeds can't really do it without him. They've kind of proven over time. But what's he, 33 now? But yeah, superb player. Pablo. Dan says Forest to go up. I've had them in the favourites for a long time in terms of the playoffs. Ian, who's on Twitter, just finished building my shed. What's your excuse? My excuse, Ian, is that you weren't available to come and do mine. So come and do mine for me. I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible at building. Look at the state of me. I can't build anything, can I? Anyway, my Mrs. Dad lives just over there and he said he would do it. Oh, is he really? Mike says Hernandez is 35. What a player. Maybe, I don't know, but can a 35-year-old who primarily has to play wide cope with those Premier League fullbacks? Who knows? Andy, with his biased derby view here, says Forest will go out in the playoff semi-finals. Let's move on a little bit. There were some guys talking about Mason Bennett in the chat here. I've always liked Mason Bennett, very pacing, powerful. Feels like he's been around for ages. Maybe time to move on. Yeah, he had that unfortunate Snapchat driving past Pride Park as well, didn't he? Not had a good year, Mason Bennett. But I think it was a good bit of business by Rout. Remember how Big Sam used to rehabilitate all of these players? So Ian says his shed is a bit wonky. Anyone want to kind of build my shed? Please, yeah, applications in over Twitter. Tommy Smith could come back to Ipswich, says Nick. Should he come back? Who knows? Have I seen the late lead shirt, Jaggy? No. Can you send me a DM of it on Twitter or something? But yeah, I have not seen that yet. I saw the lovely Ajax one, which was fantastic, wasn't it? On Mr. Pablo Hernandez, Jack says 15-20 minutes in the Prem as a sub. Just all of the times I've watched a lot of Leeds, as you watchers know. In the last 2 years, every time Leeds have played well, Hernandez has played well. And every time Leeds have had one of their brain fart moments, Hernandez hasn't got on the ball. So make of that what you will. Alan says the fitness level in the last 4 games. Who will fall like a rock? Again, somebody will tank, lose all their games, or at least get 1 or 2 points from 9. Look out for the dead rubbers as well. We can probably start calculating them after the first game week. But yeah, there's going to be some weird results, and we could see a 5, 6, 7 in some game like that. Philip says Tommy Smith would be a good signing. Joe says, how will Leeds ever replace Bielsa? I guess the answer is you don't try and replace him. You bring someone through who's one of his disciples and try and do the same thing, or you do something totally different, because you cannot replace that guy. He's just too unique, and it would be crazy even to try. There was an FFP comment there from Matt, which I will read. Do I think FFP appeals and penalties will be done and dusted before the end of the Championship season? They should be. They should be, but let's see if they bottle it and leave it till next season. But yeah, I think they should be morally, but not to say that they will. Heretic says Pablo has another year in it. We need a 28-year-old clone within 12 months. Okay, everyone could do with a 28-year-old Hernandez, couldn't they? That will cost you around 25 to 30 million pounds. So yeah, good luck with that. Glenn says piano fingers. I've got a piano arm there as well. Can you see that? It kind of goes around all funny, doesn't it? Yes, far too dainty to build a shed. If I had to pick a front three for Chelsea, they've got Werner, Ziyech, Abraham, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, and maybe even Mount. Look, we're Championship all the way here, so Mount and Abraham definitely go in because, you know, we want to see players go through the Championship and be successful afterwards. And Mount was great at Derby. Abraham was vital at Villa. Someone will have to pick between Werner and Ziyech. My knowledge is not as good, no doubt, as all you guys on there. Royal says he's asking about the absence of fans, and there's a picture of the Reading Stadium in there. I'm sure someone will comment on irony there. Do you see the absence of fans working against home teams and levelling the playing field, i.e. Millwall less hostile and intimidating? Possibly, indeed. Everyone cites the Millwall example, don't they, as the loudest, most unique ground. We talked about Leeds as well being loud, but the thing I said about Leeds is Leeds can work both ways and it can really put pressure on the players when it turns. So, yeah. Noel says, Neil Warnock, favourite for the Birmingham job. Get Warney, Colin, whatever you want to call him, back in. Andy says FFP won't be done and dusted as Wednesday and Double will take as far as they can. Got the best sports barrister on that side. Yeah, Kieran, what is this, Nick DeMarco? There's Kieran Maguire calls the Lionel Messi of sports barristers. That'll annoy Steve Gibson, won't it? Do you think the form before lockdown will continue when the league starts, James? No, absolutely not. No one knows what the form's going to be, and it will. If it does stay the same, it will be for completely random reasons that it's kind of stayed the same. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Slow, steady Steve says, do I ever follow National League North? We would welcome you at Boston United. Yeah, absolutely. Steve, if you DM me, I'd love to come to Boston. Hey, I'd love to go bloody anywhere and watch some football. But yeah, I'd love to come to Boston and see some football there. Don't know how far it is. Lincolnshire, Boston. Don't know how far it is. Plucky chicken. Do you see Mick McCarthy getting a job soon? Of course I do. You're going to see silver-tongued Mick. He'll be in work within, let me make a prediction here, the next 20 games of Championship football. Okay, let me say 30. He'll definitely be in there. You'll see him on the media. He'll be schmoozing. He will be back. We all know Mick very, very well. Are most Championship teams doing friendly games before the restart? Yes, they are. I'm sure fans of individual teams will be able to help me out on who is playing who. But I know Brentford won at Arsenal and then played Watford recently. I think Barnsley played Sheffield United, didn't they? So, Bailey set me up there. Worst manager in the Championship in recent years. I have an Ipswich scarf up there and very bad memories of Paul Hurst. But some people say he got short shrift. But yeah, there's been a few absolute disasters. I think Zola for Birmingham wasn't great either. May Lane says, thoughts on Millwall season? Yeah, excellent. Obviously, problems with Harrison. It was a shame that ended, but I genuinely expected them to be middle of the bottom half. And I wondered whether Rowett was a busted flush after Burton and, you know, the first bits at Birmingham and missing out at Derby and then rubbish at Stoke. And he's done really, really well. So very, very impressed with Millwall. And I'll say again, I hate parachute payments, and the fact that a club like Millwall without parachute payments can be so high is excellent. Do I think Arsenal will beat City? No, I think they're going to struggle in that one. DCFCJ opinions on Philip Cocu? Yeah, doing well. It's just difficult. Is that money clock is ticking at Derby, isn't it? And Mel Morris keeps trying to eke it out to challenge those parachute teams. And how much longer can he keep going on for? On another Derby point, let's flash up another Andy comment here. Remember the name Louis Sibley? Was that the last goal as well in the Championship? That Louis Sibley thunderbolt, absolutely brilliant. Paul, do I finish the Blaze to make Champions League football? That would end the story beautifully, wouldn't it? They've got a game against Manchester United, so yes. What famous player have you seen in a forget they play for them situation? I once saw Mason playing for Vitesse in 16-17. The best one of those, I promise, I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating this for narrative effect. Ipswich were playing Crystal Palace at the end of the promotion season in the year 2000, and Crystal Palace had a lone guy, little guy who was playing on the left wing. And I remember literally looking in the programme after 30 minutes going, who's that guy who's playing down the wing? He's really good. We should try and sign him. It was Ashley Cole. He was really, really good. Bend over. Do I think Macclesfield will go into liquidation? Hopefully not. Hopefully it will go the way of Bury and they'll reform. Although I guess that was liquidation, but as in going under, I hope not. But it's not looking good, and I think they're in the market for another points deduction, aren't they? Heretic says, do I think Championship clubs should get promoted and then found to have abused FFP should have points of money deducted from the Premier League season? I think there's something in that. We've seen Wolves and Bournemouth and Brighton and pretty much everyone that goes up breaks FFP except for Sheffield United, don't they? So, yeah, I think there's something in it. It doesn't feel fair, does it? Without parachute payments, relegated clubs would suffer financially. Yes, they would. The issue I've got with the parachute payments, chosen one, is the disparity between everyone else. There's just too big a gap. Yes, they need something. Lee, I'd like to know how much Villa actually spent, not just on players, but wages, fees. Oh, God. Wages was 90 million or something insane like that. Absolutely crazy amount they spent. Joe, am I a good football player? I used to play what position? I used to stand near the back, yell a lot. I could organise people. I could pick a pass. I'm not very strong. I'm not very athletic. No, I wasn't a good football player. If I was a good football player, I think I would have had enough drive to be doing something with it. So, yeah, just no good. You got your new ground built at Boston. Yeah, there's a Boston fan in there, answer that one. Posh FC Blue Eye. Do I think Northampton will go up? I really don't have enough knowledge on that division to say otherwise, but it would be nice for my locality to go and see them. Plucky says, sorry, another question. Don't apologise. It's the whole point of the stream. What teams do I see going down from the Premier League? I don't know if you keep up the Premier League much, but anyway, we're going to try and do a little bit more. Hey, I might have a bit more time in September, hence what I said earlier. From the point of view of the channel and the Championship, Norwich, Aston Villa and West Ham would be amazing to have in the Championship to cover, but I do not wish any harm on any of those teams. It would just be good for the channel and the views, put it that way. Philip says on the Villa idea and the FFP, and should, the charges go on forward, 120 million in total on transfers and wages this season. Yeah, so even with all that spending, to get the same team they had last season, Villa had to spend an absolute fortune. Didn't they? Laura Royal, do I reckon motivation, professionalism may be an issue with little to play for? Yes, it always is. I know people say players are professional. Yes, they are. But people lose intensity on dead rubbers and on the last game of the season. They just always do. Does that say Joan? Or, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. Ioan? I struggle with that name. Will Forest get promoted? I think they're going to get to the playoff final, aren't they? Got as good a chance as anyone at the moment, well, other than Leeds and West Brom. Should the Prem bring in contract requirements that all players have a Premier League wage and a Championship wage? It could never happen voluntarily, but COVID has shown a cost around manageable. That would be eminently sensible. Football is not eminently sensible, so it'd be very, very hard to enforce. But it makes all the sense in the world. They should certainly have some kind of cut, don't they? Unless they want to bankrupt their team. DCFC Joe, do I think the Championship is better than the Premier League? For me, I love the Championship, obviously, and I've studied it. But obviously, you watch the Premier League and you see the extra quality. It depends what you want. If you want to get tickets regularly and see a more, kind of accessible, less fantasy style of football, then the Championship's great. But obviously, you see those Premier League teams and some of the players you see and the way they use the ball is dribble-inducing, isn't it? So, Matt says, teams like Wednesday, Birmingham need to pick up as many points in case they're penalised for breaching FFP. Have a lot to play for. They do have an awful, awful lot to play for. Where is that league table? Let's just have a quick look on that. Wednesday, 48 points, only 9 above Charlton. Derby 51, so only 12 above Charlton. So at the moment, 12 or 15 points puts them in real trouble. They'll likely score points at a faster rate than Charlton, so maybe in 6-7 games that may be less of an issue. But and a big deduction, 15 points, will likely relegate either team, won't they? Really says Villa are surely in big trouble again if they come back down. Ruin their team chemistry by bringing in 100 million worth of signs. I agree and I disagree, Ridley. I agree that they'll be in trouble if they come back down. But in terms of their chemistry, they had to get Mings in respect of what they had last season. Who else did they have on loan and then bring in and convert it? Was it El Ghazi? There was a few, even just to get their promotion team. Remember what Villa do have in their back pocket is Grealish, who's probably, an absolute small fortune coming in. Indeed, thought Birmingham avoided the points. So, yeah, Birmingham avoided it. They are safe. Did I say Birmingham? Sorry, I probably misspoke there. I was talking Wednesday and Derby indeed. Who do I think will win the FA Cup? God, can you imagine Norwich won the FA Cup? Ipswich fans would never, ever hear the end of it. Probably Man United in that case. Thoughts on Dele Alli one-match ban? I'd need to read up on that. That was to do with a silly tweet, wasn't it? I'd need to read the tweet, but I say difficult. It's like when we were talking about politics earlier in the thing. It's very, very, very difficult to figure how they all mesh together with football. Am I going to do a predicted final league table before I restart? Joe, it's a great idea, but I'm not, just on the basis that this restart is going to be so random that I kind of don't see the point, really, because I can make all sorts of predictions and they could be, just ghastly wrong, couldn't they? I will go back to the predictions I made at the start of the season. Favourites for League One playoffs, my heart and my head, says Laura Roy. You see, Laura Royal probably wants Oxford so they can get the Reading Oxford derby. The best performances I've seen out of the four teams have been by Oxford and Fleetwood in those games, so I'll go for those two. Carl says, have I spoken about some championship teams playing friendlies and others not? Will it really matter? Yeah, probably will matter, actually. All players need that, if players could just play and not train, I'm sure they would, wouldn't they? So, anyone know if Brighton have extended Ben White's loan at least? Surely they will, won't they? That would cause all kinds of fuss if they don't. The same thing with Dean Henderson at Sheffield United. Do I think a championship club will buy Ivan Toney? No, I think Premier League club will. I don't think there'll be the money in the championship to do it, and West Ham or someone will take a gamble. So really says agree. Ben was talking more about the extra players they brought in on big money, very average. Yeah, totally right. DCFC Joe says thoughts on Tom Lawrence. I really like Tom Lawrence. I've always liked Tom Lawrence because basically when he was at Ipswich, he was a bit of a one-man wrecking crew and the only good thing we had in the 16-17 season. So yes, he may be slightly of dubious character. He may be a little bit greedy and shoot a little bit too much. But I'm always going to hold my hands up, and he was really good for Ipswich. Tom Lawrence, too good for Ipswich. Hence, he ended up £7 million or whatever it was to Derby. Alex says, thing that worries me about Millwall remaining fixes, we struggle against lower teams. Yeah, Millwall are kind of set up. I mean, the whole philosophy of Millwall is to be set up to be small and punch upwards, isn't it? Even the club, everything about it is. So yeah, there might be something in that. But hey, Alex, would you rather play the good teams or the bad teams? I think if you got the choice, it's always the bad teams. But yeah, if you're going to get up, you got to beat them whichever way around. Do you think Birmingham, having announced their manager, will affect them? Always seems to have a negative effect doing that. The two examples I gave were McCarthy at Ipswich. He said he was going at the end of the season. That lasted about 3 games, and then off he went. All the crowd turned on him even more, and it got a bit awful. And remember when Alex Ferguson did it? I know obviously no one in the Championship has the equivalent of Alex Ferguson managing them, but didn't work out so well. Would I take Dean Gherkin back? No, we'll be all right. Well, that's a fun question. Martin Waghorn or Lewis Craven? He's just picking my ex-Ipswich favourite, isn't he? I really like Waghorn. In fact, thoughts on Waghorn. I know you'll be upset with me asking this. No, Waghorn's a great player. The issue I've got with Waghorn is because he's kind of versatile. He's like Koku plays him on the right-hand side of a 4-2-3-1. It's like stick him up front and he will score a ton of goals, but he always seems to get moved about. I think he's an excellent player. Reading for Kids, £1.99 super sticker. Thank you very much, Reading for Kids, for the £1.99 there. That's outstanding. You too can contribute by by hitting the super chat and donating. You can also contribute by following me on Patreon and subscribing over there. Let's do a couple more. Bailey, best player in the championship at the moment. Mitrovic, Benrahma, Phillips. Probably Mitrovic. That's not to say that Benrahma and Phillips won't end up, being even better players than him. But they're obviously just a little bit younger. But yeah, Mitrovic is quality, isn't he? Is the East Midlands derby the best rivalry in the championship? Yeah, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday's gone, hasn't it? Villa and Birmingham was really tasty, wasn't it? Yeah, it probably is, but maybe Villa and Birmingham was last season. Alex says, Jed Wallace, the best player in the championship. I think he's firmly got his Millwall hat on there saying that. Right, I'm going to bid you all farewell. Give me your feedback on how this new technology stuff has worked. Hopefully it's all gone okay. As I said, my situation in September means that if I can put on some Patreon subscribers, maybe I can start to do this part-time and not work full-time. Fingers crossed. So please, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom to go and support. You don't have to subscribe monthly. You can just donate there, but that would be a wonderful gesture. You can also follow on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom, and obviously, please subscribe here on YouTube. If you do subscribe on Patreon, all videos will be ad-free. There will be Patreon-exclusive content, and you will get your questions to the head of the queue on the Q&A stuff. Oliver's preaching to the choir here. Where has he gone? Being an Ipswich fan, no doubt you like Marcus Stewart here at Huddersfield. He's a cult hero. Oliver, no word of a lie, Marcus Stewart is my favourite player of all time. And if you type in Marcus Stewart, Benjamin Bloom into the chat, you will see that I had the honour of interviewing Marcus Stewart. So, yes, absolutely. Right, thank you, everybody, for joining in. Andy says, good chat, finally caught one live. Kian says, see you tomorrow if I'm not busy. Then we'll just see if there's news tomorrow. But we'll definitely be here on Wednesday. Let me know what I should call it. Should I call it top, middle, or bottom, beginning, middle, or end, starter, main course, dessert, etc.? Oh, Dan, you legend. Let's throw that up. Dan with a £5 super sticker. Dan, thank you so much. That's very, very kind. I'm leaving donations just to stack up, and hopefully come September should be okay. Colm, how did you even know that? He says, see you on Cottage Talk. I haven't confirmed it even yet. How did you know that? I'll likely be on the Fulham show Cottage Talk on Thursday as well, previewing their game. So, yeah, thank you. Let me just flash Dan's super sticker up. Thank you so much for the donations. I will bid everybody farewell. Plug one more time, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. We'll likely be here either tomorrow or Tuesday with the stories, depending on how quickly they stack up. And on Wednesday, we will be ahead of the Villa Sheffield United game. We'll be doing a preview, halftime live stream, and then a full-time review as well. Item says, kick-off, half-time, final whistle. I like that. You don't have the copyright to that, do you? Because I'm probably going to steal that. Nick is asking about Cottage Talk. That is a Fulham podcast that I will be appearing on. Right, 53 minutes. By God, thank you all for hanging around. See you all very, very soon. Let's put that one up there so I remember. Matt says, all the best. Great video as usual. I will say thank you very much and see you all very soon. Over and out.